Hey guys, Ruminating Reaper here. So yesterday I went to see The Odyssey, the latest film to be written and directed by Christopher Nolan. It is of course based on the original epic poem of the same name by Homer. So look, this was one of my most anticipated films of the whole year. My expectations were high. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about here. Obviously, there is the prospect of Chris Nolan adapting Homer's epic for the screen, and it's also the latest entry in the all reliable Matt Damon Has to Go Home. I mean, it's practically a genre at this point. Obviously, Saving Private Ryan, Interstellar, The Martian, and now this, which has the mammoth undertaking behind it of being based on Greek mythology. But does Nolan actually succeed in bringing Homer's epic to the big screen? Let's find out. So the film tells the story of Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, who sets out for 10 long years of fighting in the Trojan War. After the war ends, he sets out on a journey home that proves to be just as long and even more dangerous, as he and his men are constantly beset by challenges from both gods and monsters alike. The biggest one, however, being that in his absence, his wife Penelope and their son Telemachus have been stuck in the palace with a group of suitors competing for her hand in marriage. So as you may know, the film has been the latest to get caught up in the culture war, with many, including the elongated muskrat himself, declaring that the film would flop because Nolan desecrated Homer's epic and made it woke. How's that one worked out? In all fairness though, I never had any doubts, simply because if there's one thing you can bet on, it's Chris Nolan making a great film. And well, sure enough, he's only gone and done it again. So something I have to make clear right out of the gate is just the sheer scope of this film. It is an absolute immense experience, especially on the big screen. Obviously, Nolan and his go-to cinematographer, Hoyt van Hoytema, have done a fantastic job of bringing the sheer scale of this thing to life. This is, of course, the first film production to shoot entirely with 70mm IMAX film cameras, and it really shows in the final product. No matter what you see it on, this thing really fills the screen and really captures the sheer scale of the epic narrative with, many shots of vast landscapes and oceans with characters and ships basically appearing like ants in comparison. Basically little blips in these these vast landscapes around them. It is just it is immense, and of course it's all brought to life and with real tangible sense of scale because it was all shot on location, and with, of course, a healthy helping of Nolan's love of practical effects, with so many cool, epic scale action set pieces, including the initial encounter with the Cyclops, a battle with some giants, and an escape from a whirlpool that are just all brought to life on that epic sense of scale, and it all feels real and tangible. All backed by a weighty, impactful sound design and a cracking, as always, Ludwig Göransson score, utilizing ancient instruments to create a really unique sound that fits wonderfully for the epic ancient Greek myth at its core. But it's not just a technical marvel either. It is a really ambitious narrative undertaking. Obviously, adapting Homer's epic for the screen is in itself a bold, ambitious undertaking, but in execution, it is just so classically Nolan. I mean, this thing has, multiple converging narrative perspectives that build and expand over the course of the runtime, with the first act really throwing us into some really weighty and compelling setups. Some have argued that it feels a bit slow in comparison to the sheer thrill of everything else, but I found myself really getting into it just because of how compelling these narrative setups are. And honestly, by the end, I actually did not feel the weight of the runtime at all. It felt closer to 2 hours 20 than nearly 3 hours. It just flies by because it's so easy to immerse in, with some really cool ideas and themes along the way, tackling ideas of pride and sort of the idea of, the fall of civilizations, and also how stories and legends are passed down through generations. There's a lot of really cool stuff beneath the surface, and what I think really sells it all is the great work from the ensemble cast that Nolan has wrangled here. Obviously, leading it all is Matt Damon as Odysseus, and he is great. Really selling this, commanding, tactically minded soldier, and also the toll that this long, dangerous journey home has taken on him. He is fantastic, as is Tom Holland as Telemachus. He does a great job, as a guy who, sets out to, come of age and prove himself as a man worthy to, take over from his father. He does a really good job really selling that, sort of the youthfulness of Telemachus. We also have Anne Hathaway as Penelope. She does a great job, selling, the toll that the 20 years of her husband's absence has taken on her, and the toll it's taken on her dealing with it basically alone. That core trio is great, as is the as is the star-studded supporting cast around them, including Charlize Theron as Calypso, Himesh Patel as Eurylochus, John Bernthal as Menelaus, Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra. A small role, despite what all the culture war rumblings around the casting will have you believe. There's John Leguizamo as Eumaeus, Zendaya as Athena, and Benny Safdie as the aura farming king Agamemnon. They all do a really good job with the roles they have, but the standout of them all is Robert Pattinson. I mean, whenever Robert Pattinson's in something, there's always a non-zero chance he's a highlight, and sure enough, that rings true here. He is great as Antinius. He really is a smarmy, scheming little worm of a man who talks a big game, but by the end you can just see just how truly desperate he is. He is fantastic. And, it's always a joy watching Robert Pattinson and stuff in general. But yeah, everybody here does a great job, and it really sells the drama of this, epic narrative. And honestly, by the time it reaches the final act, yeah, it is just an absolute rush. I mean, the slow build up of the first act is, proves immensely rewarding in Act 3, because it does a great job of paying off those setups, but it also does a great job of cleverly flipping them on their head, delivering an immensely satisfying sense of closure, but not before one last final thrilling action scene that is, incredibly exciting to watch on the big screen. And honestly, coming out of it, in fact, even like a day later, I'm still feeling just that immense buzz of watching a proper epic like this on the big screen. There truly is no other way to experience this film, and it's easy to see why the likes of Nolan and Tom Cruise continue to fight the good fight for theatrical exhibition. Overall, The Odyssey is yet another fantastic film from Christopher Nolan, taking on the ambitious undertaking of adapting Homer's epic and doing so with flying colours, with an epic, compelling narrative, visuals with a real sense of scale, and fantastic performances from its star-studded ensemble cast. Out of 10, The Odyssey gets a well-deserved 10. So, let me know down in the comments, have you seen The Odyssey? What did you think of it? What way did you see it? Did you just see it in a standard screening, or did you see it in proper 70mm IMAX? And, What did you think of how Nolan adapted Homer's epic? And what is your favorite screen version of the Odyssey? You know, it could be SpongeBob movie. I will not judge. Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.